Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Juicebox Podcast. This one is going to curl your brain up. Wait till you hear this. Okay, we are talking to Lauren today. She has a number of children. One of them has type 1 diabetes and a crazy story about a school nurse that I will not ruin for you here, but just let me say, you're going to audibly gasp when you hear her say what she says. And she's got a couple other kids who have a very rare genetic disease that we're going to talk about later. Has a lot to do with their blood sugar, and it's incredibly interesting as well. My notes say this is my favorite episode that I've ever made. We'll see what you think. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year supply of vitamin D. Drink ag1.com/juicebox. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. 3 simple ways to support the podcast. Subscribe or follow in your favorite audio app. Tell somebody else about the show. Use the sponsor links when you have the need. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Dexcom. Dexcom.com/juicebox. Get the brand new Dexcom G7 with my link and get started today. This show is sponsored today by the glucagon that my daughter carries, Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox.
My name is Lauren. I have 3 children. My oldest, her name is Lacey, and she's a type 1 diabetic. She was diagnosed at age 4, and she's 9 now. The story that I want to talk about today is on October 3rd of 2022, she was overdosed on insulin by her school nurse. The school nurse gave her 150 units of insulin when she only needed 1.5 units to cover her lunch. Yeah, I would like to talk about that today.
Lauren, I already have questions. You're in luck. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's let people in on the secret that I tell people before we start. Go ahead and introduce yourself. And then after you do that, I'll ask you a question. But I don't know what that question's going to be. And then while you're introducing yourself, I've never said this before, I don't think. While you're introducing yourself, I'm like, I hope I come up with something to say. But I have something to say.
Okay, good.
Let's start with the school nurse, because this is interesting. The person who did this, had they ever given your daughter insulin prior to that, or was it their very first time?
So, yes. So I'll back up a little bit. That morning, I drive my 2 girls to school or to the bus stop, and then the bus drives them to school. And when they got out of the car to go to the bus, she had left her phone in the car, and I didn't realize it until I got home. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I saw her phone was in the car, I called the school. And I said, I have an appointment. I'll be there as soon as I can to drop the phone off. But, she has a 504 plan. So, we have things to fall back on should she not have her phone for her Omnipod. So she had the Omnipod 5 at the time, which she still does. And that would just mean that if she needed a correction that, she would get it via either the pen or a syringe or, however it's worded in the 504 plan. And so I called and I said, I'll be there. So if you want to wait for me, we could just do it via the Omnipod instead of having you give an injection and stuff like that. And she was like, okay.
And you said this to the nurse directly?
I said it to the nurse directly. Okay. Yes, I spoke to the nurse. Yep. And this is a 40-year veteran nurse, apparently, who, has been doing this for 40 years, had worked in the hospital, had worked
I'm
for the last
52-year veteran of being alive, and I'm an idiot still. So let's see what happens. Yeah. Wait, but I have a question though. This, I feel like you misunderstood my first question, but I want to get you back to your story as soon as I can. But the nurse that did this, not that day, but in all time in history, had that person ever given your daughter insulin in the past?
Only via the Omnipod 5, not via injection or the pen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all so they have practice with your daughter. They know how much they usually get, she usually gets, etc. So
exactly.
and so she's also accustomed to dialing the Omnipod up to 1.5 units.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she normally does the Omnipod, and was very thorough with it. Knew what she was doing. So I get to school right around noonish, and she had like literally just given her insulin. And I look down at my daughter's arm, and I see that she has 2 injection marks in her arm. And I ask her, "Why do you have 2 marks on your arm?" And she said, "Well, the syringe wouldn't hold enough to just do 1, so I had to do 2." That's what she said. That's what the nurse told my daughter. And so I immediately, because we're in the front and the nurse's office is just like a couple steps away, so I open the door to the nurse's office, go in there, and I said, "Why does she have 2 injection marks?" The nurse tells me the same thing. I said, "Let's pull out the syringes." She pulls out the syringes and she says, "This syringe is 1 unit." And I look at it and I'm like my heart just drops. And I'm like, this is not 1 unit. This is 100 units. This is a 100 unit syringe. And she goes, no. This is 1 unit. And I'm praying to God she's correct. And I sat down for a second. I start Googling, and I'm trying to find something that proves her right, because I'm like, please let her be right. And I'm Googling, and I knew it was just a matter of time because her blood sugar was already dropping.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, let's look at the syringes one more time. And this nurse goes over to the cabinet, pulls out the syringes, looks at them. And I'm like, "Are you sure that's 1 unit?" As I'm looking at the 100 unit mark. She's like, "I think I made a mistake." And I'm like, yeah. So at that point, she had been dropping, and I had been giving her gummies and gummies and gummies, and trying to get her to get a little bit higher. But at that point that we left, it had said low. It just said low. It didn't say
gummies
anything
weren't
else.
going to do it. She needed,
yeah,
what was her insulin to carb ratio at that point? 1 unit covers
like 15
carbs. So 100 units would be 150 carbs. But she got 150 units?
She got 150. So this nurse gave her not only 1 full syringe, 100 units, she also gave her another 50 units on top of that.
150 times 15. Hold on a second, Lauren. She'd need 2,250 carbs to
Probably.
cover.
That sounds about right.
Well, that's about right. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have a couple of questions. Now, were you in shock? Is that why you spent time trying to prove her wrong when you knew she was wrong?
Yes, I was completely in shock because I wanted.
The Dexcom G7 is sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast, and it features a lightning fast 30-minute warm-up time. That's right. From the time you put on the Dexcom G7 till the time you're getting readings, 30 minutes. That's pretty great. It also has a 12-hour grace period, so you can swap your sensor when it's convenient for you. All of that on top of it being small, accurate, incredibly wearable, and light. These things, in my opinion, make the Dexcom G7 a no-brainer. The Dexcom G7 comes with way more than just this. Up to 10 people can follow you. You can use it with type 1, type 2, or gestational diabetes. It's covered by all sorts of insurances. And this might be the best part. It might be the best part. Alerts and alarms that are customizable so that you can be alerted at the levels that make sense to you. Dexcom.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes. Links at juiceboxpodcast.com to Dexcom and all of the sponsors. When you use my links, you're supporting the production of the podcast and helping to keep it free and plentiful.
I want her to be right so badly. I was like, there's no way this nurse just gave her 150. Like, you can't wrap your head around that in the moment, you know?
How old was your daughter at that point?
She was 7.
How much did she weigh?
She weighed maybe 60 pounds at most.
And you punched the nurse how many times in the face before you left the office?
Trust me. Hindsight is 20/20.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I would have been like, oh my God, this is my time. I can actually assault another person and a jury of my peers is going to let me off. Okay. So wait. So there's not enough carbs in all of the land, and she's not going to be able to eat it all anyway.
No.
So do you hit her with glucagon immediately?
I didn't. The only thing I, at the moment, thought to do was to rush her to the ER. And while I'm getting her in the car, I'm noticing she's starting to like slump over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Lacey, wake up, open your eyes, like the whole car, right? And I'm like, the house is closer than the hospital. So I rush to my house and I get on the phone with her endo and the nurse. And I let them know what's going on. And they walk me through the whole glucagon thing because I get to my house extremely quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I give her the glucagon. She's still, out of it. And I rush to the hospital. And when we get to the hospital, thankfully, she's able to walk inside by a miracle. Like, looking back on it, I don't know how she was able to walk inside, but she was able to walk inside. They took her blood sugar and it was like 79 at that point. I think the glucagon had started working.
Yeah.
And however, with
the
all that insulin flowing through, it was dropping all night at the hospital. She was on a glucose strip.
I bet.
It was still dropped. Obviously we're not used to that. So
I thought you were going to tell me you went into snake bite mode, cut her arm and sucked the insulin out of her. Because, I honestly, it would have been one of the things that went through my head. So I might have stuck the syringe back in and pulled and see if I could have got some of it back again. By the way, not medical advice, because I have no idea if that would work or not. I mean, so you're only 3 years into diabetes at that point.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Because Lauren, between you and I, as now we have distance, you made a couple of tactical errors along the way.
I did.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I gave your daughter 150 units of insulin. Mm-hmm. You should have hit her with the glucagon in that moment.
100%. Yeah. I completely agree with you.
Right.
And I think it was just the fact that I didn't want to believe that's what just happened. Like, I could not wrap my head around that had just happened.
Are you a kind person in general?
Am I a what person?
A kind person? I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to juxtapose your reaction to my brain, and I can't find any sense in it. Because I would have been shooting glucagon with one hand and choking that fucking lady with my other one. And so,
no.
And I mean, listen, people can make a mistake. God bless. But 150. And how about how other kids come through there with diabetes, right? Had she ever drawn up that much insulin in her life?
I have the same questions.
Goddamn right you do. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at that point, and even to this day, Lacey is the only one at that school with type 1 diabetes. And obviously that's for a reason. I'm sure that there were other diabetics that had gone through there and were like, screw this place. But
she shot so much liquid into her. If I was her, I would have stopped and thought, like, could that little pot even hold all this? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just such a.
I'm telling you.
Can I ask you what did she do for a living after they fired her?
I have no idea.
She was fired, right? If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready with Gvoke HypoPen. My daughter carries Gvoke HypoPen everywhere she goes, because it's a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above that I trust. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. Luckily, Gvoke HypoPen can be administered in 2 simple steps, even by yourself in certain situations. Show those around you where you store Gvoke HypoPen and how to use it. They need to know how to use Gvoke HypoPen before an emergency situation happens. Learn more about why Gvoke HypoPen is in Arden's Diabetes Toolkit at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on the top of your kidneys called a pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called an insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information. She was fired, right?
Yeah, and only because I went in there and I had to demand her be fired. I said, I'm not trusting this lady with my daughter. Yeah. And at that point, she was still treating children with their other. There was no type 1 diabetics except for my daughter. However, she was treating other children with medications, and they wanted to keep that nurse on. They did everything they could to keep that nurse on. And I had to go to 2 different meetings and fight for my daughter to get that nurse out of that school. And if my daughter did not like that school, as much as she did, obviously she would be out. Like, I would have pulled her immediately.
I mean, I'm not for nothing, but if your kid dies, is that manslaughter maybe? Like, I don't even know how that works, but like she would have gone to prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and they couldn't, by the way, in my perfect world, she would have gone to prison. I don't really know the law, but in my world, firing her is like the least of it.
Yep. That's the least they could do. Yep.
Jesus.
Trust me. I know it's so infuriating. And when the principal came in to talk to me, and she obviously doesn't know anything about diabetes, even though I have had meetings upon meetings with her about it, she didn't understand the gravity of the situation. She just didn't, until I had to pretty much yell at her. And I'm not somebody who raises their voice, honestly. I do not yell at people, but this whole situation was just like a nightmare. And it's like probably the one thing that, you're worried about happening that's kind of like an irrational fear, but it actually came to light.
Unless it happens to you, and then it's less irrational all of a sudden.
Exactly.
Wow.
I guess so.
Okay.
I guess so.
So listen, here's an important note for people. When people are like, well, I don't want a pre-bolus because I'm afraid my blood sugar will drop too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter pre-bolused 150 carbs. You didn't even give her a Snickers bar out the door. And how long until they put her on a knife? Well, how long until you hit her with the glucagon first?
I did give her a bunch of, she had so many gummies.
Use both hands, sweetie.
I know.
Stick them up your nose. So she's eating gummy bears. You hit her with glucagon. But my point is that bridges the gap, because insulin does not work immediately when you put it in. Now, 150 units in a 70-pound little kid, you're going to get some quick motion. But so you had time to hit through with the glucagon, then you put her right back in the car and drove to the hospital?
Yeah. Well, I did the glucagon in the car. I ran inside with her in the car with it running. And Yeah. Interesting.
I
was shaking like a leaf when I was giving her the glucagon.
Hey, listen, one time when Arden was little, before I knew what I was doing, her blood sugar was falling really quickly. And she got super combative. And she's like, I'm like, oh, drink the juice. And she's like, I want ice cream. And I was like, well, we don't have ice cream, drink juice. And we were in the car. And so I drove her home. And she's like, why are we here? And I'm like, for ice cream. She goes, that's not the kind of ice cream I want.
My gosh.
So now I'm speeding to a soft serve place. I'm not lying. I get pulled over by a cop. And in my little ass town with 4 cops, they're never anywhere when you need them. And I'm flying down this road. Fair enough. He pulls me over. I pull over. I look at him. I go, my daughter has type 1 diabetes. She has too much insulin. I'm trying to get her to food. You got to let me go. And he goes, after I run your license. And I'm like,
no.
I'm like, what? Okay, here. I said, can I get out of the car and test her blood sugar? I'm testing her blood sugar. It's in the 40s, I think, at that point.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And he gives me my license back. I looked at him. I said, I'm going to be speeding again. Please don't pull me over. And I got in the car and I took off. I got a ticket in the mail.
Are you kidding me?
Motherfucker sent me a ticket. I had to go fight it.
God.
I did get out of the ticket, in case you're wondering.
Wow.
But he mailed me a ticket. I don't know who that person is, but if he's listening, you. So, but, and by the way, anybody could be listening, because a woman just messaged my brother at their job and said, hey, are you the Rob that edits the Juicebox podcast?
Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
And my brother goes, A, how do you know about that? And B, my brother's like, I've never told anybody you have a podcast. He's like, it's embarrassing. I was like, I know. And he's like, no, I'm not. And she goes, oh, and they started talking about it. But anyway, my other brother's name is Rob. I have 2 brothers. And so anyway, where are we at? Oh, okay. You're in the hospital and they're dumping an IV into your kid with dextrose in it for how long to combat this 150 units?
I want to say 8 hours.
God,
8 hours.
damn.
Yeah.
Did you send the bill to the school?
Well, it was wiped clean somehow. We did try to sue her, and all the lawyers said, "Oh, well, because she didn't die, you pretty much don't really have a case." And
if you could go hold a pillow over that kid's head, I think we're going to be rich.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, she's got to be protected. I don't know nothing about nothing, but physicians and doctors have to be protected by some Good Samaritan clause, which I understand. I don't feel like you could, I don't know, it wouldn't have been my inclination to sue her, but I definitely would have wanted to see her lose her job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I definitely made that happen at least. And I guess the state had picked up the case, and I'm not sure where it's at this point, but somebody at the state looked at everything and said something needs to happen, because this wasn't just like a little oversight. You know what I mean?
No. It's not just a little oversight.
Yeah.
Also, Lauren, it's a willful decision. Like, it's so much liquid. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so much.
Yes, it really is.
She's a nurse. So the measurement of units is universal through all liquid medications.
Right.
Did she not go, this doesn't seem like 1.5? Like, do you have any explanation for it?
Well, when I was at that point in the nurse's office, she had said that she thought that it was a TB syringe, which I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm assuming that a TB syringe is smaller, but even still, I cannot fathom drawing up that much insulin and injecting a small child with it.
Here's another idea, Lauren. You know insulin's dangerous, right? She had to have known that much, right?
Absolutely.
If you find yourself in a position where you're saying to yourself, I'm not certain if this is the correct amount, do you not stop? You just go, f it, let's see what happens now?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it seems like happened, though. You know, it's like, you know, it really does.
Listen, there's no chance she was drinking or high or something like that, right? Because that would make sense.
I hope not.
Well, that would at least make sense. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah.
A little of the mother's helper. You know what I'm saying? That might help. No, okay. Not to say she was. Obviously, I have no idea who we're talking about. I'm just saying it seems like you'd have to be impaired if you've been a nurse for 40 years to make that.
Absolutely. I agree. I completely agree.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was an older lady. I'm not going to say any names, but, you know, she was an older lady who seemed like she knew what she was doing, which is why I trusted her. You know,
my mom was an older lady. I wouldn't have trusted her with anything, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And I'm 10 years away from you not being able to trust me, in case you're wondering. Well, anyway, that's terrible. Was she contrite? Did she apologize? Or
yes,
really? Okay,
she did.
Nice.
She did apologize. What she said after, she said, I think I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. That was the first time. And then she just kept saying she was sorry. And she did call me later that night to check on her. And, you know, it's so infuriating that she did what she did. And at the same time, she's calling me and apologizing. And, you know, she was crying on the phone saying she was sorry.
She's a lovely person, you know?
Yeah. But it's also at the same time, it's like, I think I would have quit if I were in that position, you know. However, she continued going to the school and treating children and kind of acting like nothing happened. So,
Mommy, my stomach hurts. How come? I drank a quart of Tylenol at school today.
Yeah, exactly. but like, who knows, you know, like nobody knew at that point. And if I was not there to bring her phone, she would have just sent her right back to class after the 150 units and she would have been gone. Let's
be clear. You getting there when you did absolutely saved your daughter's life.
Yeah.
She would have been just so dead. Like there's nothing would have got her back once the insulin was rolling.
And they would have to figure out, you know, what had happened. And the nurse would have been like, oh, I don't know. You know, it's not like she would put two and two together.
Well, they would have seen the vampire bite on her arm and maybe figured it out.
Maybe.
Listen, not for nothing, but not that it would have been her responsibility to. But your daughter didn't do the hey, I've never gotten 2 of these before in my life. I
believe she did question her, why are you giving 2? And the explanation was the same as given to me, that
it doesn't all fit.
It didn't all fit. Yeah, exactly.
Because,
and so
can I continue to sprinkle common sense on this? Because the manufacturers of insulin needles would obviously manufacture needles that don't hold enough insulin for someone to use. Jesus Christ.
And literally labeled units. It literally says units on it at the bottom. 100 units.
I'm only 52. I can't see shit without my glasses, so I don't know that part. I don't understand. Okay, but I'm talking bigger ideas,
right?
I'm in a room with a computer monitor. A computer monitor company wouldn't make a monitor with the image on the back of it because I need to see it. If people are regularly giving themselves insulin, wouldn't the needles be big enough to hold the insulin? Like that's a thing your common sense should go, hey, hold up a second. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know if it's age or comments. I don't know. I don't know the person, obviously. And I'm not trying to say that I do. I'm just saying big picture. There's a lot of confusing things in this story.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There is.
Did it have any psychological impacts on you?
On me? I mean,
do you have trouble leaving her with people or anything like that after that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always kind of been that way. And I think this just kind of made it worse because I guess I live in a small town where there's not many people diagnosed with diabetes. And I literally know one other family who has type 1, and that's pretty much it. Leaving her before this happened with somebody, I really didn't do unless it was like my mom who I had trained for months before, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so even after this, you know, she's still extremely sheltered. And, you know, I
Jesus Christ. I'd be wrapping that kid in bubble wrap and armor. I'd be like, listen.
Yeah, I have 3 children with medical conditions, and my other 2, it happens to be a genetic condition, and they are actually hypoglycemic. So I have a hyperglycemic and I have a hypoglycemic.
Wait, you have 2 younger children whose blood sugars are always higher?
Are always lower.
Lower, excuse me. You said hypo. Yes. I misheard you. Okay. Yeah. All right. So oh, no kidding. What is that? Is that a diagnosable thing?
Yes. It's a long name. It's called dopamine beta hydroxylase deficiency. And only 30 people in the world have ever been diagnosed with it. And it's where your body has a complete deficiency of adrenaline and norepinephrine.
30 people?
30, yes.
I'm assuming you've had your husband's tubes tied, or your tubes tied, and your husband's you guys aren't going to make any more. Yeah, you're not going to make any more kids, right?
As soon as we found out it was genetic, we were done.
Christ, what a pairing you two are.
Right?
Do you get along really well, at least?
We do.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
We are a great match. It's just we both happen to have a recessive variant that only a handful of people have. And, you know,
that's crazy.
That's just kind of how my life kind of goes. I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I'm kind of like the guinea pig in life.
Lauren, there are so many people in the world. The odds of you matching up with that boy are so slim. Right? That's crazy.
I'm telling you. They said it was astronomical that we found each other, and we're not related.
Did they test? Did they go, uh-oh?
They did. Yeah, they did test. Yeah.
This
when
lady
they do the genetic testing. Yep.
This lady might have married her second cousin. Hold on a second.
Can you imagine?
Jesus Christ. Can I imagine? I mean, after this story, sure, why not?
Right?
Jesus Christ. Did your daughter? Sorry.
No, I live it, so.
I guess are there other people in the town married to relations?
No.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
But it's just the chances are higher if you're related of having the same variant. Well, yeah. That's what I meant by that.
No, I knew what you meant by it. I was just thinking like it might be more common to marry somebody you're related to than somebody who you have like these 2 genetic matches with. It's really it's incredible.
Yeah, it would be, but yeah.
No kidding. How do you help the other 2 kids? What's the treatment or the help for them?
Pretty much just give sugar. They get hypoglycemic, especially when they're sick. So they have to have sugar or carbs every 2 to 3 hours when they're sick.
Mm-hmm.
During a regular day, they can't sleep longer than 6-ish hours because that's when they really start to drop.
How far will they drop?
Until they're dead, honestly.
Seriously?
Yeah, my son, he's 2 now, but June 25th of last year, I went to go wake him up and his Dexcom said no signal. And it hadn't said no signal for that long. It had maybe been 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Went to go wake him up and he was limp. Checked his blood sugar and it was 26. I didn't know it at the time. However, he was having silent seizures, which I didn't know anything about.
Sure.
Called the hospital and everything. And when he came to, he started having, I guess, more of, you could see the seizure.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor had said he had been having silent ones and now he's having to where you can see them. I'm not really sure what that's called, but he was like biting his tongue and stuff. So yeah, because they cannot get their stored glucagon naturally. They can't access it because you need adrenaline to do that. That's why it's so dangerous.
So this is a vigilance thing. You have to be constantly at this.
Yeah, I have all 3 on Dexcoms. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. How old are all 3 of them again? They're 9 and
9, 6, and 2.
Oh my God. So what's the plan? You're just going to like go out for cigarettes and not come back? Or what do you think they're doing?
One day, no.
You're gonna be an old lady when you're 20, like 20 more years.
Yeah.
People are gonna be like, "That's Lauren. What is she, 80?" She'll be like, "No, she's 45." Like, oh, no kidding. Jesus Christ.
It's her kids.
Your kids are dragging her down. Like, she actually kept them alive. It's insane. Like, seriously though, like, not to be a bummer, but you did come on and talk about the lady trying to like off your kid.
Yeah.
It's already in your head, right? I'm going to send them away. They're going to fall asleep and they're not going to wake up.
Absolutely. I don't even think about sending them away, to be completely honest with you. Honestly, my younger 2 would not be here if I was not completely because with their condition, and I didn't know this till afterwards, of course, but with their condition in the 3rd trimester, your body, or you need norepinephrine in order to continue the 3rd trimester. And so I did have 2 stillbirths in the 3rd trimester after I had my oldest, which now we know is due to this condition. So like every single aspect, like all 3 of my children would be dead if there was no intervention, like Lacey with the type 1. And then my youngest 2 with this condition, they had to have emergency C-section in order to be, alive.
Lauren, tell me, you've had 5 pregnancies. 2 of them ended in the 3rd trimester with a stillbirth?
Yes.
Jesus, are you okay? Seriously.
I'm not, but I'm hanging in there.
I'm not, but I'm hanging in there. That's the most honest goddamn answer anybody's ever given to that question. No, Scott, actually, I'm not okay.
I mean, would you be? But
no, I wouldn't be. That's why I asked. So therapy? Do you see an actual psychiatrist? Does one follow you around all day? Like, how do you deal? You drink? Are you a drinker, Lauren? Are you putting them away? No? What's going on?
I think my kids kind of keep me so busy that it's like, I don't really have time to even think about other things. But
Jesus.
Like, honestly, no, I did do therapy for a while. And, that's why I'm here today, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, your husband, is he rich, handsome, got a really big, like, what's the deal? Like, is something is making you happy, or are you looking at him and thinking, I could have picked someone else? Like,
he's a very good guy. He is extremely smart. I've known him since middle school, and we're just, like I said, I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I feel like something has to be at the end of this, like
Lauren's down to Lauren. How old are you?
I'm 31.
You're 31 and you're down to, there better be a Jesus at the end, and he better put me in, and there better be like, I better go live in a nice, like maybe a park setting. I would like a castle.
I'm telling you.
Goddamn, 31 years old, and you're like, there better be a fucking gift at the end of this. Oh my God.
No, but yeah, I
why am I doing this? How did the kids? I'm sweating. I'm laughing so hard. It's ridiculous. All I can picture is you walking around muttering to yourself in the quiet moments.
You must have a camera on.
Oh no, I just know people, Lauren, and I understand implications of things. The kids, did they know how screwed up things are, or do they live pretty normally?
They don't have any kind of like other issues other than,
shutting off.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, cognitively, they are completely quote unquote normal, but they have to have a Dexcom, and they complain about that. They understand. And I've tried to explain as much as I could, about
2
their
years
condition.
old. So what's their understanding of the eating thing? Because you said sugar specifically, but could it be any carbohydrates?
Yeah, actually, like carbs are better for like during the night when they're sleeping. Yeah. It takes longer, like starchy stuff takes longer to, break down. But
is this having an impact on their weight? Is it to the point where it's an unhealthy amount of calories, or do you have that figured out?
Yeah, they have like a sort of a little bit of a faster metabolism as far as the research goes. There's not a lot of research at all, but what I can find is their metabolism seems to be a little bit faster than the average, and that's why they're able to keep up their, because if you think of stimulants stimulate norepinephrine and adrenaline in your body, and because they lack that, there has to be some kind of other mechanism coming into play. Otherwise they would just be obese.
How did you figure this out in such a small town? Did you have to go to a children's hospital, or were they actually able to figure it out there?
After so many hospital visits, they referred us to a pediatric geneticist. We live in Florida, so this was in Orlando that they were able to figure out what was going on after we were cleared from genetic, things. I asked to go further, and I said, could we just do a whole, genome sequencing thing? And the geneticist was like, I don't think we're going to find anything, but I can try to push insurance to see if they'll cover it. And I was like, please. And because I did that, she called me back and she was like, you will not believe what I found. And she was in shock.
I bet. I want to look it up. I want to know how to spell it. I want to know how to spell it again. But first, I opened up a Google page and I typed in what is, and then I was going to ask you to spell the thing.
Sure. Yeah.
No, before you do, let's look at what other people have been Googling.
Okay.
What is CTE? I'm going to blame the Tom Brady roast for that. Okay.
Okay.
What is Hoda? Is she not like the person from like a TV show?
Oh yeah, she's from that morning show, right? Yeah.
What is my IP address?
Oh.
What is Doge? DOGE? That's a like Bitcoin kind of a thing, I think.
Right. Yeah.
What is Ramadan? What is today? You're telling me that the way some people figure out the date is to write into Google what is today?
What is today?
I want to say right now, if you do that, stop listening to the podcast. I don't want you as a listener. Okay. What is the?
You shouldn't be giving insulin if that's what you're Googling.
Yeah, if you're Googling what is today, you shouldn't be giving people medication. There's a calendar. Sorry. All right. Also, there's 1,000 better ways to phrase that. What is the weather? What is the weather today? Also, I don't agree with that. I like looking outside if you want to know what the weather is. What is mewing and what is a solar eclipse?
Interesting.
Do you know what mewing is?
Well, so I have a 9-year-old, so I think that I don't 100% know, but it has something to do with like this newer generation.
I'm clicking.
Like
it's the only one I don't know. I was so proud to know that today is Thursday the 16th. Hold on a second. Mewing is an internet craze that promises to change the shape of your jawline and fix other problems. Okay.
Yeah, that's not what I thought it was.
Lauren's like, I thought it was a sexual position. Hold on a second. No, hold on. It's a form of oral posture training purported to improve jaw and facial structure. It was named after Mike and John Mew, the controversial British orthodontists who created the technique as part of a practice called orthotropics. Does mewing actually reshape your jaw? I don't care if it does or not. I want to be clear. But I do want to say this, Lauren, and I know you might be disappointed. Your episode is 100% called What is Mewing?
Oh, God.
All right, now spell this thing that your poor two kids have.
Okay, so dopamine, DOPAMINE. Mm-hmm. Next word is beta, BETA.
Hydroxylase.
Hydroxylase, HYDROXYLASE deficiency. Also
known as dopamine beta monooxygenase, is an enzyme that in humans is encoded by the DBH gene. Dopamine beta hydroxylase catalyzes the conversion of dopamine to norepinephrine. The three substrates of the enzyme are dopamine, vitamin C, and oxygen. How about that? And your kids just don't have that. It's a deficiency, right?
Yeah, it's a complete deficiency. So they do not create DBH at all, which means they do not create the norepinephrine or the adrenaline.
does this sound right? Is a condition that affects the autonomic nervous system, which
Yes,
controls involuntary
correct.
body processes such as the regulation of blood pressure, blood temperature. I'm going to guess blood glucose is in this list too, huh?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
and when
it
they
is.
become around the teenage years is when they have a little bit of it now, but the orthostatic hypotension, which means when you stand up, your blood pressure drops to the point where you can faint. They have it a little bit now, but it's just going to get progressively worse. There's a medication that's called droxidopa, which acts as kind of like a synthetic precursor. So it acts as DBH, but not naturally. So that helps with the orthostatic hypotension. But
Is it just so few people have it that there's no medication for it? Or is that there's no way to impact it with a medication?
yeah, the droxidopa does help. It's never, my daughter is actually the first child to be on it. So that's kind of scary. And
oh my God,
yeah,
seriously?
So yeah, I'm
Oh,
serious. Yeah,
Jesus.
the dosage that she's on right now is like 40 milligrams twice a day, but adults are known to have like 600 milligrams 3 or 4 times a day. So the dosage is like all over the place. And,
Holy
obviously it's not a perfect science. So
yeah. This is terrible. Like, I'm sorry to say it like that to you, but like
yeah,
sudden drop in blood pressure, severe when getting out of bed in the morning during hot weather as a person gets older, deficiency experience extreme fatigue during exercise due to the problems maintaining a normal blood pressure, droopy eyelids, nasal congestion. Males may experience retrograde ejaculation. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, the discharge of semen goes backwards into the bladder. Less common less common features include unusually large range of joint movement, like hypermobility and muscle weakness. Holy Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not okay. No, you answered honestly. I got that. Okay, good. All right, no. Do you cry a lot? I'd cry a lot.
I used to.
Not as
now
much?
It's just kind of like the normal, I guess. I have kind of transitioned into this being a little bit more,
Lauren's like,
get used to something.
I have resting sad face.
Exactly.
Well, how do you keep up the thing you're supposed to do as a parent around your kids? The like every little thing gonna be like, how do you do all that for them?
I try to compare them to like, worse situations, honestly. Like,
have you seen Frankenstein? Again.
Well, like to be completely serious,
Yeah.
With my daughter's type 1 diagnosis, we didn't know what the heck it was. Like, I had only heard of type 1, a handful of times, and I still wasn't 100% sure. So when she had the symptoms of like losing weight, like she was so skinny and she was vomiting, and the 2 things that popped up when I would go online was type 1 diabetes and cancer. And so I'd say, there's so much worse that you can have. She complains about the pot, or she complains about, my other kids will complain about the Dexcom. And I'll be like, there's so much worse. Like, we're lucky that, it's not worse. And obviously I do mean that, but it is hard because they do have it pretty rough. So
no kidding.
I'm just trying to see the light.
Well, I think, well, listen, again, to be serious, you have to, first of all. It does give you, I mean, this is not a thing you would have asked for, but you have more perspective at 31 years old than most people are going to gather in 5 lifetimes. And that will be valuable, like moving through, for your kids and for you and for your husband and everybody else. I guess that's really the move, though. Like how do you not say to them, like, at least it's not that, and to try to make them feel a little better. So, I mean, I guess I have to ask you, like, if you could give one of these away, the diabetes or what your other 2 have, like, there's no, like, pause even, right? Like, diabetes is way easier, or no?
Well, they are both very hard in their own ways. But I think the way I think of it in my mind is my youngest 2, like, they shouldn't be here, according to nature, because we had to like intervene. So during my pregnancy, I had to be seen every single day at the hospital to measure what's called the umbilical artery, because it's very technical and complicated, but they get reverse umbilical flow in their umbilical cord. And when that happens, you have to deliver that day. Like, so they shouldn't be here. It's hard for me to think which one I would take away, because they're both, I know that my younger two are going to progress, and I don't know what the future holds. You know what I mean? So
I have such a difficult question that for the first time, and I'm not kidding you, I stopped myself from asking a question, and I don't know if I can say it out loud or not.
Please ask it.
I'm less worried about you. I'm more worried about what people are going to think about me.
Oh gosh.
Oh, so the 2 stillbirths happened prior to these children being born.
Right. Yeah. My oldest, who does not have that condition, however, does have type 1 diabetes, was my first. And then after my first, the 2 that we lost were in the middle.
And then you find out this thing when do you know what's happening? During the second, or during the, what I guess would be your 4th pregnancy, or after they're both born? When do you learn about the issue?
I learned when I was 8 weeks pregnant with my 5th child. So with my youngest now. Yep. So I was already pregnant when we found out it was genetic, because we did get cleared by the geneticist after we did the initial tests.
Okay.
And she had said to me, it's so unlikely that this is genetic. Like, she didn't even want to do the in-depth, whole genome sequencing, because she was like, we're not going to find anything.
Well, there's another person who let you down.
Exactly.
But so when you know that, is there a moment in that 5th pregnancy where you think, I'll let this go naturally to its conclusion and not intervene? Or
absolutely not.
You never thought that?
Knowing what I knew, because I had to give birth to pretty much full term, infants who had passed, and I knew something, so I did something. You know what I mean? I would never. Yeah. If it would have turned out horribly if I didn't intervene. So, and obviously I was asked the question, do you want to terminate? Because I did an amniocentesis when I found out it was genetic, and they did find out that he did have it. So, I was given that option at the time, because I guess it was still legal, but I don't think I'd be able to live with myself, because everything that's happened in my life was not technically my fault. You know what I mean? And so I didn't want to cause something, Oh,
that's interesting. You didn't want to be the decider on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything that's happened has not been something that I've chosen. You know what I mean? And
so I understand.
If I were to choose, you got me.
No, I completely understand. Yeah. I mean, it bears asking, right? Now,
of course,
you're not going to have other children.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
You and your husband don't even sleep in the same room anymore, right? Just in case.
No, they removed my tubes.
Yeah. Did you say, I want to watch you throw them in the trash?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And the doctors still questioned me, are you sure? What if this one doesn't survive? And I'm like, okay, we're going to take him out no matter what.
Am I sure? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, the doctor, they don't understand the concept. You have more of an understanding just talking to you, and I can tell, than talking to any other medical professional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like they don't. I don't know.
Listen, my brain works very simply. You just told me your kids can't sleep more than 6 hours without it being dangerous for them. Right. One of the great joys of life is going to bed late on a Friday night after working a full week and waking up whenever the hell you wake up on Saturday. Your kids are never going to do that. And that point is that they're going to be 18 and they're going to go to college, and then they're going to drink or something, and then it's going to happen. You're literally going to be on the phone going, someone's got to wake her up and give her something to eat. You know what I mean? That's not a thing you're going to forget about. And it doesn't matter how old you get. It doesn't matter how long this goes on for. You're going to think about this every goddamn day for the rest of your life. And that's not fair to you. It's not fair to them. And it's brave to deal with it, but to not understand it from a third party perspective, why you might not want to do it, is ridiculous. I mean, that's just silly. Please. Oh my God.
It is.
No. Yep. Seriously. What the hell? Who would not understand that? And the same thing with the diabetes stuff. When people say, look, I'm all for sitting around and speaking high-mindedly about things and doing some gazintas and being whimsical and saying, oh, there's a ton of stuff that I've learned because my daughter has diabetes and I am probably a smarter person and a stronger person and more resilient and all that stuff because my kid has type 1. It doesn't matter. I'd give it away in a half a second. I'd go back to not understanding things and not having perspective and being less intelligent and all the other. I'd give away the podcast. It wouldn't matter to me. Can all go. I'd give it away for anything. And that's why that conversations makes people upset when people say, hey, what's something you've learned from diabetes? And you'll hear from people who say, oh, like, I think I'm actually overall healthier because I pay more attention to my body. That's a very valid statement. And then somebody else will come in and be like, you're out of your mind. Like, there's nothing I wouldn't give away to get rid of this. And so I'm with you. Like, I see how hard it is. It's also why I decided to be jokey with you, because I didn't think we could make it through an hour of talking about this, because I'd be like half out the window crying right now if we treated this too seriously. So and I ain't got the space for that. It's getting towards the end of the week. You know what I mean, Lauren?
Yep. I know what you mean.
Like, I'm trying to get to Saturday,
Yeah.
I can't be walking around all day thinking about your kids not being able to sleep more than 6 hours, and your other daughter surviving a hit. I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's like one thing after another.
Oh, there's no way you guys aren't going to have other bad stuff. Either you've used it all up already, or you're just a target for it. I can't decide what's going to happen. Your house is never blown
let it be
over.
The first one.
Yeah, right. No. You don't live in like a tornado part of the country or something?
No, but we get hurricanes. We're in Florida.
Get the hell out of there right now if I was you. You're clearly going to find your ass on a raft floating out to sea one day. Going, oh, I knew it.
If anything, hopefully we'll win the lottery, because we're just that's our odds, I feel like.
I swear, I always make that joke with people. Like, you have these incredibly rare things. It never works out with the lottery. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I know, right?
Terrible. Really terrible. Are you at least really pretty, Lauren, or something like that? Like, is there any like, you know what I mean?
I might not even have that going for me now.
I mean, cause something I could feel less. Are you 6 feet tall and you look like a runway model? Right?
No.
I mean, something I can like at least go, oh, well, she got that. Are you driving like one of those Range Rover trucks or something?
I wish. No, I'm just normal.
Oh my God. This is terrible. Do you find money on the ground ever?
Oh, you know what I have before?
Go ahead. Enough to buy something or not? No.
When I was living somewhere else, I actually found $100 in like random bills all over the street.
All right, I would like for that to happen to you every 5 hours. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I think that's the way to go. Like, like when I have stuff bad, I always think like, at least if I was tall, this would be acceptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if I was a supermodel, then maybe I could handle it better.
I would prefer if my teeth were a little straighter. I feel like I could live with this easier. And like, like seriously, like why? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you just some people are so goddamn handsome. You just like, that's got to make up for something, doesn't it?
Right.
Money or something, like anything to just like move this,
offset it a little bit.
Yeah, like move this back to the center a little for me, for God's sakes.
I know. I'm all the way on the edge. Like, come on now.
So now listen, your kids, they don't end up ejaculating to their bladder. Can they have children, or they're not allowed? I know he's like 2. Sorry.
No, but
they can't have kids, right?
Well, there's not enough studies, but when they're taking that medication, apparently there's a possibility that they may be able to reproduce. So I don't know. I won't advise any of my children really to reproduce, because it scares the crap out of me. And so
even your oldest that has type 1, like, does she have the gene?
She's a carrier, and so like she doesn't actually have the condition, so she carries it. So the odds of her finding somebody who is also a carrier is like slim to none. But
guess what?
Anything could happen now. So
unless she meets her third cousin somewhere.
Oh God, no.
I like how that shocks you more than the other thing. That's fantastic. Do you like put the word out to your entire family about this?
I've tried. It's just talking anything medical. I feel like
Lauren.
with
Tell me.
Anybody.
Tell me.
I mean, you know how if you try to explain diabetes to anybody on the street and they're just kind of like nodding their head and pretending like they're understanding. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's
your family
pretty much how the conversation goes. Yep.
It's upsetting isn't it upsetting on a different level?
It is.
Yeah, you're like,
and my brother, who is also a carrier of this condition, is having a child, and we're getting his girlfriend tested to make sure that this child does not have the condition, or I guess we're testing the mother to make sure she's not also a carrier.
Jesus.
So
I'd never not ejaculate into a condom if I was in your family. Even if I was by myself. What do you think of that? You're like, this ain't getting on anybody. Dangerous. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No kidding. Oh my God. Thank God you came on the podcast. Somehow, oddly, Lauren, this is the most fun I've had making the podcast in quite some time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, are you crazy? Thank you for coming on, and shame on you for not doing it sooner.
I tried.
Well, that's my fault. Yeah, fair enough. Although I did record an episode. I found this great doctor, this endocrinologist in Texas, Blevins, and he's going to come on a number of times to talk about GLP medications.
Okay.
And so we're on
That's
yesterday,
awesome.
and we're recording together. And he's a nice man, and it's serious, but it's not so dry. And at one point I brought up this like scenario where this person started using a GLP and lost 5 pounds in the first 36 hours. And I was like, could that be water weight? Like back and forth. And he goes, I would imagine it would be water weight, or like maybe they experienced diarrhea or something like that. And like, we're talking about it. And I said, yeah, but in fairness, this person's a very clean eater. They have PCOS, right? They're a very clean eater. And they're gaining weight uncontrollably. Very clean eater, exercising constantly, uncontrollably gaining weight. This poor girl in her 20s, right?
Wow.
And I said, never had a 5 pound loss for any reason. And during this entire thing, they injected that GLP and lost 5 pounds. I was like, and then I think I said, whether that's because they exploded out their ass or not is neither here nor there, in my opinion. And he just kind of giggled just a little bit. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. Because as I said it, I thought, that's not what I should have said. But oddly enough, exploded from their ass is less creepy to me than the word diarrhea.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just rolled with it. I think I'm going to receive a Nobel Peace Prize one day for the conversation I had with you. I would like that to happen. Can I be serious for a second and at the same time say something really nice about myself? I think that this thing that your kids are going through, right? And this experience you had with your daughter. Seriously, they're two really important conversations like blended together here with us today.
Yes.
These are not things that people would sit and listen to. It's too goddamn depressing. It's too obtuse. Nobody's going to have this happen to them. You know what I mean? Right. Like, exactly. But it's valuable to hear about. And I think maybe the biggest value is to hear like your reaction to it more than anything else as a podcast. Like seriously, because there are plenty of people who would just leave. They'd just be like, these kids are a problem. I got to go.
Yeah.
Like, right. And that's not what you're doing. And you've got their best interest at heart. You're working every day at it. It's obviously a 24/7 situation. You're aware that it's going to have detrimental effects on your health and you don't care. You're going to take care of them still.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the story to me. The joking around and the laughing part is so that I don't cry while we're talking about it, in case you're wondering. And I don't need you crying, because if you cry, I'm going to cry. And then, you know what everybody's going to do with their podcast player? They're going to go, this is depressing. And they're going to shut it off. Instead, we laugh the whole time. And we have a cartoonish vision of me shooting glucagon with one hand and choking a woman in her 60s with my other hand. So, exactly. Yeah. Oh, my God. I honestly think I might have ended up in jail.
I know, right?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But someone come in here and give my kid glucagon while I murder this person. Like, just what in the hell? Oh, you didn't say anything mean?
No.
Oh, I would have been so incredibly mean. I'm disappointed in myself saying that.
If I did, but I'm not really that kind of person, I guess. I don't know. I was just so like out of it. Like, I was in such shock, I think. It's just...
listen, maybe I wouldn't. Truth be told, it's possible I wouldn't. But in my heart, I kind of hope I would be. Like, I don't think I'm that person, to be perfectly honest with you. People now are probably laughing, going, oh my God, Scott, you're 100% that person. But I think I'd be shooting glucagon while yelling, you dumb motherfucker. And like, I think I would have said such horrible things to her, and I probably would have apologized afterwards, but I don't know how you stopped yourself. You were in shock, obviously.
I was just like not, I don't know. I was not present in my head, I guess. Sometimes like, you just have to like remove your brain. I don't know.
Well, no, it sounds like it took you a second, but then once you did it, you pulled it together and you started taking steps, right?
That's true.
I would have been disappointed in myself, but I definitely would have cursed a lot and said it's probably the most hurtful things I could think of. Yeah. I'll see a therapist about that maybe.
But yeah, going back to the other conversation with my other two, I just want to mention that there's something called POTS. I don't know if you heard of it. POTS.
Sure. Yeah, it's autoimmune, isn't it?
So yeah. They don't really know a whole lot about it. And this condition, the DBHD, dopamine beta hydroxylase deficiency, actually kind of mirrors it in a way. And the researchers think that the DBHD may be a little bit more common, than we know of because it's just so not really tested for. So, if anybody does have POTS, like, symptoms and medications are not helping them. And also if they've been like born low birth weight or prematurely, then I would I encourage you to look into that diagnosis because, there's a potential for other people to be diagnosed with it as well. It's just not, it's not researched and studied enough.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I was speaking with a person who has POTS recently, who also has a heart issue. Take a medication for. I wish I was paying enough attention at the time to remember the name of it, or I would share it with you. But it makes me wonder, POTS is one of those things. They're like, that's that I'm saying the word wrong. When you stand up and you get very dizzy.
Exactly. Yeah. Orthostatic hypotension type syndromes. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Lauren, is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you wanted to?
No, I believe we covered a lot of it. Yeah. I think that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Anything you want to say? You want to curse once or anything like that?
Motherfucker. No.
There you go.
To let it out a little bit sometimes, but yeah.
I like how you blended the fucker at the end there with you were very strong with the mother, and then you kind of got a little like criminally there with the fucker part. That was nice. Yeah. Like I felt like you could have stolen my car. Or done some good voiceover work for children's cartoons over 18 years old.
Thank you. Yeah, somebody needs to hire me now.
Somebody needs to hire you. Listen to me. God bless you. You should find $100 on the ground every 5 hours, as I've just said. Someone should call you immediately and give you a job where you make $90 million a year. And some researchers should end up with whatever your kids have, so maybe they pay attention to it for 5 seconds.
Yes, but for real, though.
By the way, seriously, 30 people?
30. Yep. Yeah. Online, you can read it says between 25 and 30. So my kids are 2 of them.
Holy shit. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, you're a fucking saint. What do you think of that? If there is
I need
a heaven,
that on a bumper sticker.
If there's a heaven and you don't get into it, something went wrong. Okay. That's all.
Thank you.
You murdered 43 nuns if that happens. Okay. Because holy hell. Man, I don't know what hey, listen, I didn't want to ask because I was afraid I'd get a sad story, but is your husband is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah. Is he hanging in?
We just ask each other, are you okay? Like every so often. So
every so often.
We just have continuous like resting bitch face, I guess.
Oh, are you kidding? 1,000,000%. Don't let the kids say it though. You got to figure that out before they get a little older.
Yeah.
Jesus. In what world, what family does the kid with type 1 run around going, whoo, dodged a bullet?
No, right?
Yeah, no kidding. I got lucky.
Exactly.
Christ. You two. I can't believe you two met. Did you at least meet in a small town? Or was it like away at college or something like that?
No, it wasn't a small town. Yeah, we were in middle school and that's where we met initially. And then we ended up getting together later on when we were in our early 20s. So
like 6th, 7th grade?
Yeah. We
here.
were 6th grade. 6th grade. Yep.
Did you make hold hands and stuff when you were in 6th grade?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Right. But we knew of each other, We knew each other.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to get that lady pregnant a bunch of times one day and it's going to be all kinds of horror that comes afterwards. Also, children are a blessing, et cetera, and so on.
They absolutely. 100%.
Well, listen, I got to tell you something. I have my last question for you. I know how you're going to answer it, so it's almost silly to ask it, but I think it makes a good point. If you could get in a time machine and not have these kids, would you do that?
I'm telling you, I think about this question daily.
Go ahead.
I really do. I can't say with 100% certainty, but I don't know if I could go through it all again, to be honest with you. I really don't.
If you went back in time and you knew what was going to happen, you could stop yourself.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it would be a completely different narrative if I knew what I know now.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's not like, because you wouldn't know the kids. You just know the, like, what, like, because if I gave you a magic wand, you wouldn't make the kids disappear, right?
Right.
She's like, yeah,
right.
No, of course not. What? No.
Just take away the shitty part.
Did I sound convincing when I said that? No, but seriously, I understand what you mean. You go back in time, you don't know the people, you just know the situation.
Yeah.
So listen, I got to be honest with you, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Now, if I took you back in time and showed you a picture of the 3 kids and had all the memories of loving them and then said it, what happens then?
If I didn't know any better, then yeah, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, but
Jesus Christ.
It's rough. If I could go back to 14 and tell her everything that went down by the time you're 30, like,
there's a little boy in 6th grade. He's going to smile at you. When he does, kick him in the balls as hard as you can and yell no, and then uppercut palm into his nose.
Exactly.
Oh
my God.
You're the best guest I've ever had on, Lauren. We might want to bleep your name. All right, I need more people on the podcast being this honest. Send me an email, okay? All right, Lauren, let's let you go before one of us has a stroke from laughing, and then or more people judge us for being terrible people, whatever is going on right now.
I know, right?
Yeah. Listen, that's on them, okay? You ever heard your tits been through a ringer? Your whole gone through a couple of times, I think.
Yeah,
you know
right?
what I mean?
They pushed me through the whole thing.
Lauren, we would be friends if we were near each other. We really would be.
For sure.
No, we would definitely be friends. I would never, ever get you pregnant because you were very dangerous as far as I can tell. but we could definitely be friends.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
You must be the lady in the neighborhood that other ladies point to and go, oh, don't worry. At least that didn't happen to us. Like you're
For
like,
real, though.
Yeah. Oh, there's some out there that are still. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, Lauren just said there are people in my town I wouldn't trade places with. That hurts if you're hearing it. No kidding.
Oh
are you
God.
a stand-up comedian in your private life? What do you do for a living?
No, I can't. I don't really have time to do anything else. I just take care of my kids.
It's like your job is that, right? But no.
Yes.
Let me ask one last question. Have you always had in my estimation, you have a terrific sense of humor. Okay.
Thank you.
I think sense of humor is measured by your ability to make fun of things that are clearly not funny, but you can see something funny about them. I mean, obviously nothing that has happened to you is fun. Right. And so did you have this before all this? Have you always been like this? The sense of humor part? I
think a little bit. And I think I also had to kind of acquire it because it's like kind of like a coping mechanism, I guess. Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So,
it is a little bit of a coping thing for you.
But no, I've always, I guess, yeah. But it is mostly coping.
And maybe I don't usually do this while I'm being recorded, but have I done anything that's made you uncomfortable?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay. Because if you have been, you could just tell me and I'll just delete it. You know that, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right.
No.
Okay. Because there are going to be some people who don't have a good sense of humor going to be like, that lady just took that for an hour and blah, blah, blah. Like, I hear you old hens out there. Don't you worry. I want to say this. I'm going to say something because there's no place I'd ever say this again on any episode. When I was growing up, like between me and my friends, our measure of if you had a good sense of humor basically boiled down to, could you laugh at a very well-crafted dead baby joke? Because there's nothing funny about that. So like if somebody could actually craft a piece of humor that would take something that horrible and still your brain could go, oh, I see why that's funny. Ha. And laugh. Like that to me is a pure sense of humor because there are obviously plenty of things in the world that are not funny. It's not the thing you're laughing at. It's actually the structure of it.
Right.
It's the conversation around it that makes you laugh. It doesn't make you laugh at the horrible thing. It just makes you be able to laugh at the situation.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
anyway.
I mean, could you imagine being that serious about, like, I don't think I'd be here if I didn't have some kind of, way of thinking otherwise.
Yeah, I think you'd be on 6 different pharmaceutical medications right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you have to be able to laugh at yourself and laugh at the situation, regardless of what it is, because if you don't, then you're just going to be miserable,
Well, I think that attitude gives your children a very good chance at finding that for themselves too. So I applaud that, honestly. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was weird to get serious at the end, but all right. Do you want to curse anymore, Lauren? Because you were really great at it.
No. Okay.
No? Okay. Because I mean, if anybody needs to scream into a pillow, I feel like it might be you. So, all right. I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on one second.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Gvoke Glucagon. Find out more about Gvoke HypoPen at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. You spell that GVOKEGLUCAGON.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast was sponsored by Dexcom. The Dexcom G7 is what you need. It's what my daughter wears, and you can learn more about it at dexcom.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes, links at juiceboxpodcast.com. The Diabetes Variables series from the Juicebox Podcast goes over all the little things that affect your diabetes that you might not think about. From travel and exercise to hydration and even trampolines. Juiceboxpodcast.com. Go up in the menu and click on Diabetes Variables. All right, kids, we're done. We're at the end. Just do me one last favor. If you can, if you could, please. If you have the need or the desire for something that one of the sponsors is providing, please use my links or my offer codes. They help the show so much. And that means me. You're helping me to make this podcast every day. You're helping me to support the private Facebook group, do all the things that I'm doing. I'm not asking you to buy something you don't want or something you don't need. But if you're going to get one of these items, use my links or my offer codes. They help me a ton. Thank you so much for listening and for supporting. I really do genuinely appreciate it. I'll be back very soon with another episode. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.